XDefiant just released, so let's go over all the 5 different factions that you can play, their abilities, their playstyle, ideal loadouts, and even additional tips and so much more. So let's just dive straight into it. The cleaner or cool looking flame guys are considered to be the noob friendly faction of XDefiant. Their passive incendiary rounds grants them incendiary ammo, which adds extra burn damage to any of their targets, which then deals additional damage for a little while after you've stopped shooting because they kind of get, put on fire, which can be the decider whether you get a kill or not, even if you already died after losing your trade. Keep in mind that the leftover damage over time seems to be less than 10 damage, but it can still be a game changer. This passive doesn't come without a cost, however, and playing the cleaners will lead to you having a decreased weapon range. With that in mind, it makes sense to play close to cover, and if you get your enemy down to the final ranks of their health, try to disengage from the fight and let your passive deal the last bits of damage to finish them off. As for your tactical abilities, there's the firebomb and the incinerator drone. After a small animation, the firebomb lets you detonate a Molotov cocktail at your feet, which causes explosive damage and ignites the area around you, dealing damage to any enemy within a 20 feet radius and setting that same very radius on fire. Any enemies caught within the initial explosion will die almost instantly because the explosion itself deals a lot of damage, and then any enemies who are inside of the fire will take burn damage that will then finish them off. The fire lasts for 5 seconds before going away. I like to use this ability prematurely before I'm about to round a corner when I know there will be more than one enemy. Sure, getting one kill is fun and all, but there is not much that beats destroying an entire team with a quick molly. As for the incinerator drone, this nifty gadget lets you throw a drone wherever you point it. The drone will fly to any targets within your line of sight up 30 meters away, leaving the same fire trail effect that you would see from the Molotov in its wake. If an enemy is hit by the drone itself, it will explode, which will result in a kill for you. If you want to get the most out of your drone, make sure to throw it at enemies who are exposed but are still in power positions, and get out of dodge to stop them from trading you as the drone zooms in to finish them off. The cleaner's ultimate ability is a flamethrower by the name of Purifier. Activating this ability brings out a flamethrower which will last up to 12 seconds or until all of the flamethrower fuel is used. Flames have a range of 20 feet and will nearly one-shot any player that it touches. The flames do move pretty fast, but you still need to lead them a little bit to secure a kill on a moving enemy. The flames do travel through enemies, meaning you can tear up an entire team if they're clustered together. Due to the nature of their abilities, the cleaners want to play in the middle to even shorter ranges and close to cover so they can abuse their one-shot capabilities of both of their tactical abilities as well as their ultimate, and of course so they can take damage on enemies without dying thanks to their passive. As for the phantoms, they are the tanks in XDefiant. Their passive hardened gives them 120 health points by default instead of the usual 100, giving them the upper hand in any one-on-one duel. So if you get a chance to ego peek as a phantom, it's probably a good idea. Phantom has access to 2 different tacticals, that being the Blitz Shield and the Mag Barrier. Activating the Blitz Shield lets you pull up an unbreakable tactical shield that will soak up bullets. If you press the melee button, you can perform a shield bash, which I believe one-shots any enemy. And even though the tactical shield does block bullets, keep in mind that it won't protect any exposed body parts such as your feet, or if the enemy manages to shoot you from the side or behind or from above. Activating the Blitz Shield lets you have it for upwards of 25 seconds unless cancelled. You cannot slide when a Blitz Shield is active, but you can sprint and you will run slightly slower than anyone else. The Mag Barrier is a deployable electromagnetic barrier which blocks incoming enemy fire and grenades. You and your teammates can still shoot through it. The barrier has 470 health before it breaks, and if it isn't broken by an enemy, it will automatically go down after 10 seconds. In addition to your passive, you should use this to your advantage if you want to push 1 or even more enemies at the same time. Just put the barrier down to cut off the line of sight and then fire away while they aren't able to shoot back. One good way to secure a wide peek is by looking 90 degrees while you're standing right by the edge of your cover, throwing the barrier down, and then swinging while using the wall as additional temporary cover. The Phantom ultimate, the Aegis, starts a spherical plasma shield that surrounds the Phantom and any nearby teammates within a radius of 20 feet. Just like with the Mag Barrier, teammates can shoot through the shield while the enemies can't. As for the Phantom who's using the ultimate, they get equipped with an electro scattergun, which one-shots any enemy that it hits. That being said, the scattergun will only hit enemies that enter its range, that being inside of that shield. Honestly, the Phantom can play any weapon that they do feel like, since they should be winning most of the trades anyways. There's even some advantage to be had from the passive if you're going band for band with other sniper players, as you can end up tanking a shot that proves to be fatal to them. But due to the rest of your abilities, it makes a lot more sense to be in the middle of the fight, providing yourself and your teammates with ample one-sided cover that can make or break a fight. The Libertad seems to be both a great supportive faction as well as one of the pub stomper factions in XDefiant, and that's in part thanks to their passive, and I'm going to mess up all of these pronunciations by the way, Espiritu de Libertad, which slowly slowly but surely gives a passive healing effect to you and any teammates within 15 feet. As with any other faction, Libertad has 2 different tactical abilities and ViewtifulEdits boost. The El Remedio is the perfect ability to support your own team as well as yourself. Using your tactical ability deploys a revitalizing gas canister that will heal any nearby friendlies for the next 25 seconds unless it is destroyed. If you're holding a position or angle with or without your team, it makes sense to put this down just around the corner so you can back off and heal up as soon as you take any damage. The ViewtifulEdits boost, on the other hand, is all about staying on the move. Activating this ability will send out a fortifying wave which temporarily boosts you and nearby teammates' health regen significantly, which will bring you all to max health. Personally, I would say that the Remedio is more about supporting your team and playing defensive, whereas the ViewtifulEdits is all about you playing more aggressive, taking a fight, and then backing up behind the cover, quickly healing up, and then re-peeking the enemy who might have been swinging for you, expecting you to be low health. The ViewtifulEdits boost is also a great way to survive the burn damage from a cleaner unscathed. But the Medio Supremo, the Libertado Ultimate, is what really sets the faction apart from the rest, both as a team ability as well as an individual one. After activating your ultimate, a longer animation will play and you will be screaming a really long voice line, after which you will put down a healing field which boosts the health of yourself and any teammates inside of it up to 200. It also gives you an insanely high rate of healing, which makes you near unkillable if you peek 1 or even 2 people at the same time. What's so great about the Medico Supremo is that you can keep the pressure up while dealing with a swarm of enemies. It can act as a great way to enable your team if you want to push in or if you want to hold off enemies together. You can also just use it to give yourself basically an infinite amount of health while you're flanking an enemy team as you're going for a huge clip, taking them down one by one with some cool transfers or sprays. Because of their abilities, I believe that the Libertado can play any loadout, but in my honest opinion, I'd say something like an assault rifle seems to fit the most. That's because a larger magazine size and sustained fire works perfectly with you healing yourself up during those small openings, and it allows you to keep shooting without needing to reload as you're using your ultimate. As for positioning, these seem to fit in any range, but I probably ideally would have them in the mid range of the fight, which gives them enough to heal up without instantly being swung by several enemies at the same time, or them biting off more than they can chew. The Echelon faction is the ready and arguably second pub stomper faction in the game. They can tear up entire lobbies by staying difficult to detect and track, which lets them get the drop on unsuspecting enemies. And it all begins with their passive, low profile, which stops you from appearing on minimaps whenever you're playing Echelon, no matter what you do. This also means that you don't need to use suppressors, silencers, or any other attachments that normally would conceal your position from the enemies, and you can instead equip something that actually gives you a higher rate of damage or accuracy or whatever you want. As with the rest of the factions, Echelon has access to 2 different tacticals, that being Digital Ghillie Suit and the Intel Suit. Activating the Digital Ghillie Suit will cloak you and make you mostly invisible. Keep in mind you aren't 100% invisible while this is active, and you kind of have a cloaked, shrouded effect going on instead. If you stand still, you will be more invisible compared to if you're moving around or aiming down sights. The invisibility can last up for 10 seconds at a time and will be broken by you shooting, using abilities, or taking damage. Activating the Intel Suit will give you wall hacks and the immediate location and outline of any enemies that are within your range of 30 feet during one of the occasional pulses that are sent out during the ability's 15-second duration. These enemies will stay outlined and their position will also be revealed to your teammates. Since you can wallbang most thin walls in the game, learning which walls can be banged through and not can give you entirely free kills without the enemy even being able to shoot back in the first place. Keep in mind that any enemies that are revealed by the Intel Suit will have a warning on their screen that they're being tracked for the entire duration. Their ultimate sort of works the same way and makes you feel like an absolute god. When activating the sonar goggles, Echelon will reveal any enemies on the map, no matter the range, and give you a FN57. Body shots with the 5.7 will be one-shot kills if the enemy is close enough, and if they're a little bit farther away, 2 body shots are usually enough to seal the deal. The potential for outplay here is insane, especially if you're using a ghillie suit, but just remember that you know where literally everyone are. You can set up a perfect fight where you can take him down one by one. And also keep in mind that they will know that the sonar glasses are active because they're going to get a big fat warning on the screen that it's active, just like with the Intel Suit. As for their playstyle, Echelon will thrive on the flank thanks to their recon abilities as well as the ghillie suit, as it allows them to set up these perfect flanks while having a full view of what's going on at all times. They want to run close range weapons with a fast time to kill, such as SMGs. I would probably even say that they would benefit from the MP7 the most, because it is one of the fastest weapons right now. As for DedSec, they are the cool class in the game that doesn't seem to have too much of an impact, if I'm going to be honest, other than being annoying and being locked behind a paywall of 700,000 experience points or opening your wallet. And since I cannot get 700,000 experience points when the game doesn't work properly, and I definitely don't want to pay for it. Enjoy my assorted gameplay in the background as you run through how they work. Their passive Fabricator allows DedSec to keep using their devices. After a device has been used, it will give the user a new one after 15 seconds. For those who don't know, a device refers to frag grenades, sticky grenades, proximity mines, flashbangs, or EMP grenades. They have two tactical abilities by the name of Hijack and Spiderbot. Hijack allows you to hack enemy deployed abilities and turn them into your own, and Spiderbot deploys a spider bot that will target and stun the nearest enemy by hugging their face. Stunned enemies remain affected for 5 seconds. And finally, DedSec's ultimate lockout disables the enemy's HUD, their minimap, and abilities across the entire map for the next 20 seconds. Overall, it doesn't seem to be insanely valuable unless people start using their abilities a lot more, but I can see it working in ranked or maybe even in more serious environments to counter metas or in competitive or pro play or whatever. Because if you are in a very competitive, maybe even professional environment, one side not having access to neither the map or their abilities will lead to a free fight for the team with the DedSec. But anyways, that was all of the factions in XDefiant explained with some additional tips and information. If you guys want more XDefiant coverage, make sure that you like and subscribe so I know that this is something that people are interested in. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.